Hello and welcome back. Welcome back to my channel. And welcome, Lady Visionary is myself, me, myself, and I. I am Lady Visionary. Welcome, Visionary family. If you're new to this channel, please go ahead and subscribe, support your girl. What we do on this channel, for those of you who don't know, we basically talk about, Africa, relocating to Africa. We talk about the challenges as well as the solutions. More, we want to focus on the solutions when it comes to Africa, because I've said it time and time again on this channel that so many people, when it comes to Africa, so many of us focus on the problems. The problems are well known, they're not new, but how can we think about the solutions? How can we bring solutions to the table to bring or to move the continent forward? As you're all coming in, I just want to say welcome, welcome, welcome. You've all seen the topic here at hand. Do be ready to, be a part of this discussion. I've sent out the link, so please feel free to just click the link as we're just starting right now. So please do join us. Today's topic: what will it take for Blacks to get the respect we deserve? I think it's a very, very important topic. We're about to, start in a minute. There will be a slight delay for those of you who will be listening afterwards as we wait for more supporters to join the conversation today. So welcome every single one of you. Let me know where you're listening in from. As you come in, please just greet us, say hello, be prepared to be engaged in this conversation. We won't be here for too long, so please do be prepared to engage with us and share your analysis, share your opinion on this topic, because I don't think I'm the only one who has been really thinking about this topic. So much is happening in the world globally when it comes to the Black community, and so many of us are really tired. We're wondering, what will it take for us to get the respect that we deserve? What will it take for us to, you know, um, gain equality with our other half? What will it take? What will it take? And so that is the discussion today. But before we proceed with the discussion, as I said, please let me know where you're listening in from. Be prepared to be interactive in today's discussion. Before we go in, I just want to talk about the Africa Rising Investment Funds, which I've always talked about here on the platform. So welcome every single one of you who are coming. Thank you guys so much for joining the conversation. Let me just tell you a bit about the Africa Rising Investment Funds. This is something that I launched this year. It's all about, helping and supporting young people in Rwanda, specifically in the rural settings, those young people who are not normally reached. We know that on the continent, there's a big problem with regards to employment amongst young people. And so this particular fund is focusing on the rural settings for young people. They can pitch their business ideas, and we basically fund their business ideas. So if you want to support, you can do. We have the GoFundMe page, but also you can support via PayPal as well. So those are two different ways you can support. Also, if you can't support financially, that's fine. All you have to do is, like the stream, share it out there so other people can join, and the family here can really grow, because that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to grow, and the more people that we impact, hopefully we can bring about change. So welcome every single one of you. How are you? I will be greeting you all in a minute. Please bear with me. Thank you guys so much for being here today and listening in. Just take a moment. I just want each and every one of you out there to, take a moment just to share this stream, because I know maybe somebody else can also benefit from this. So please do share it for others to join as well. We do want, as many people as possible. I know people will watch this stream after we've finished, but I really need more people to sort of be engaged and, come in and talk to us today on today's topic. What will it take for Blacks to get the respect we deserve? I think it's such a powerful topic. If you agree, just type in the comment section. I really believe that it's a necessary topic, because there's so many conversations being had out there. Like, you know, people are concerned. They're saying, so many things are happening globally to the Black community, whether that's in Europe, whether that's in America, whether that's in the Middle East, whether that's in, Africa itself. So many things are happening. And, we'll talk about America at the moment, so the killings of so many Black people. And you've had like the protest, people marching and saying Black Lives Matter, Black Lives Matter, but still, it's like, it's not having the impact. They're still shooting down Black people without caring, without a care. They're still seeking justice for people like Breonna Taylor. Someone sent me an article, I think this morning, about what's his name, Lewis Hamilton, being investigated because he wore a T-shirt saying something along the lines of "arrest the cops who shot Breonna Taylor," and so much is happening. And it's like, you think about this historically, you think about, the Nelson Mandela, you think about Kwame Nkrumah, you think about all these others like the Black Panthers, so many before us who have really stood up and tried to influence change for the Black community. And although they, managed to make some impact, here we are today. Really, many of us are fighting. Some of us think, the Black Lives Matter protest, forget that. Why are we out there protesting? It's not going to make a difference. What is protesting going to really bring for the Black community? Some would say, you know what, let's just, the best way to tackle racism is to exit, to leave it behind, relocate to the continent. Some would say that actually that is a weak way to address the situation. Actually, we need to face the situation head on for what it is. We need to deal with it in the West. We need to deal with it in the Americas, Europe, wherever. We can't, we can't just up and leave and say, this is the only way to tackle racism. We just need to go back to Africa. That's some of the arguments being put to us. Also, people will say that, we should go back to Africa. We should invest. We should create jobs for people on the continent. We see so many young people from, whether it's Ethiopia, whether it's Uganda, whether it's Kenya, and so many other parts of the world, going to the Middle East, and they're so badly treated. The women are physically, sexually abused, emotionally abused, but still so many of these maids are going to these countries to work because they say that they need money. I interviewed a lady from Uganda on my channel, and she was talking about her experience. She's currently working in Saudi Arabia. Black women that find themselves in Saudi Arabia, they go into these homes and find that the situations are horrible, and then they try to escape and even end up in prison. So some people say, the Black community, what we're facing, it's actually a global genocide. And, I don't know if it's just me, but I want you all to let me know as well. What will it take for Blacks to get the respect that we want so much and that we deserve? And, I just think about like our ancestors and those who were like enslaved, and how they fought for freedom, how they kept on pushing and pushing and pushing for us to be, as Blacks, to be out of the change. But I feel like today we're still in a form of modern day slavery. And so I'm constantly thinking, not only for myself and for my community, but for my children. I have two young boys? What does the future look like for them? Because we keep on fighting and fighting and fighting and saying, hey, we are human beings too. We do deserve respect too. Why do you have to treat us differently because of the color of our skin? And so this is a constant argument, is we want to have a seat at the table too. Some people will say, you know what, we don't need to argue about having a seat at the table. We just take our place because we deserve it. But we find that, you know, people may say it's not as easy as that. We keep on asking our oppressors time and time again, decades after decades after decades, give us a seat at the table. We need respect too. The color of our skin doesn't mean that we're not human beings like you. And that when you cut yourself, blood runs out of your veins. Same like when you cut the black person, blood runs out of our veins. What is it that's so different about us that we have to be treated this way, that you cannot see us as an equal? And you talk about human rights and all these legislations and, you know, policies, but then we you know, many says we are under systemic oppression. And so the laws and the policies that you see is not designed for the Black community moving forward. And so then I think, okay, what will it take for us to gain the respect that we deserve? So I have got a special guest with me today. His name is Jamal. Thank you so much, Jamal, for joining us. I'll just add him to the stream right now. Hello, Jamal. Welcome, welcome.
Peace, peace, peace. How you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you? Thank you so much for joining us today.
Oh, no problem, no problem. It's a complex situation. I think by far we are the most hated people across the globe. I think a lot of that has to do with propaganda and the the psychology of things. One thing I learned about racism and oppression, the older I get, the more I do research. They put a mental bondage on us. It's where they put that mental bondage on us. We don't necessarily look at ourselves with the respect that we deserve, let alone other people. So I think that's for one played a good role in why we haven't really progressed the way we should have. Another is, I think we've been overly too nice, overly welcoming. We allow so many non-African people to enter the continent, but why is it so difficult to go to other countries? Why is it so difficult for an African to go to the UK? Why is it so difficult for an African to go to the US? But yet, if somebody want to up and go to Kenya, they could get the visa on arrival. So if we allow these kind of trades to occur, it's a one-way street. So it's definitely a complex issue. It's going to take a while. We have to realize that a lot of African nations, only received its independence about 50 or 60 years ago. So we can't compare it to the U.S. when the U.S. is about 275 years old. So our countries or the continent has some ways to go. Black people in the diaspora has some ways to go as well because a lot of time we are lacking allies. So whether you're a black person in London or whether you're a black person in New York City, we have to have allies. I think we lack at that because if a Chinese man get discriminated against in the states, best believe China don't want any part of that. But let a African person or 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 a black person in London or a black person in the U.S. get treated unfairly, who do we have to fall back on? So this is why Pan Africanism is extremely important because it's a fight to combat pan-Europeanism.
Right. No. Definitely agree. Because you were saying like I think it was in China when the problems happened with a lot of Africans being stranded there, and the way that they were treated, thrown out on the streets, and it took so long even for the African governments to intervene. There were talks about not having enough money to intervene, and to bring those people home. So again, like you said, like that lack of unity, or someone says, Africa to sorry, London to Africa. I think unite amongst us, respect ourselves, education, invest in our communities, self-sustainable business. I think again that's a point in terms of how we can gain respect, but are we moving in the right direction? That's what I'm thinking. Are we moving in the right direction? Because still people are going out and they're protesting, but some are saying like, protesting, why are you protesting? These people, the oppressors, they're not going to give you what you want. So what would you say on that?
I agree. I I kind of saw this coming. I was hoping that it wasn't gonna come to this when it was going on, but I was very proud of our people um, during the whole George Floyd situation, because you had people throughout the U.S. Get it down and dirty, but not just the U.S. But you have people in Africa. I believe South Africa denounced the killings of George Floyd, and they had on their I can't breathe T-shirts. Um, People in Kenya marched marched to the U.S. Embassy in solidarity for George Floyd, and Ghana had a memorial for George Floyd. So it became an international movement. But I noticed I started getting hesitant. I started to get skeptical when I started seeing all these organizations, all these white-owned establishments, all of a sudden, joining forces with the Black Lives Matter movement. Now you watch the NBA games and you see Black Lives Matter on the basketball court. Football games, people wear Black Lives Matter T-shirts. Our enemy is allowing us to do that. We gotta look at that as a red flag alone. Why is it so easy now to represent Black Lives Matter? Because now if they co-opt it, we're not going to be as aggressive as we was prior to them accepting the Black Lives Matter movement. Ever since these
So
corporations, I'm sorry, go ahead.
no, go ahead. So you're saying basically they're jumping on the bandwagon. It's kind of a psychological way of suppressing us again from
Yes,
really say really moving forward with all of this. Because I also
exactly.
agree with what you're saying. All of these corporations that are now saying, we're allies with the
Mhm,
Black community, and Black Lives Matter and all of this stuff. But I feel it's fake, because it's
mhm,
they can say one thing, but actually we're not seeing anything really, are we? We're not. Where are the actions on the ground?
mhm.
Within
I,
organizations, you see that with like the Black person may not be able to move up into a job role. They're just sending out emails and saying, yeah, we believe in Black Lives Matter, and we support the Black community, and we understand. But okay, give me a promotion then. Give that Black person a promotion. Let it be more than
mhm,
just your words. But all, like, I got an email from one of the universities that I went to, and I was just like, they sent out this email to quite a lot of students, to I think to everybody. But what actions are we actually seeing? None.
mhm,
Like, look at what's happening. Because what it is, they're afraid. So if you look at America, like in terms of the Black impact, and in terms of our spending power, in America, I'm talking like I'm in America now. You guys over there in America, the Black community, the spending power annually is 1 point, or over $1.2 trillion.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of it is actually what they've found, because they've done research into this. Our oppressors have done research into this. They know how to, put the adverts out there to attract us to buy this and to buy that, because the research show that we are wasteful spenders. And so they are actually making money from the fact that we are wasteful spenders. And that's why I say I feel like one of the ways that we can gain respect is that if we started redirecting our money. And a lot of the times we have bought into the white businesses. Let's just to say, we would rather go to the Asian business than actually support our own. That's something that we spoke about here on the channel before. Supporting each other's business. We would rather walk past the black shop and go and spend at the Asian shop. Why is that? The mentality, the psychological brainwash that has been present for so long is still persisting in the black community. And so when the oppressors see us, and I feel like they're laughing at us because we can't even support our own. And as you rightly said, like the Chinese, they will back each other. But will the black community do that going forward? Because they're looking at us like, these people, are they really serious? They're not even in unification. And we know just what to do to keep them divided and suppressed in order to progress. So yeah, I know I've been talking so much, but if anybody else want to join us, please do feel free to join us on this topic. Jamal, please stay there if you can.
Okay.
I will invite Renelle in to speak with us. Hello.
Hi, Lady Visionary.
How are you?
Hi, Jamal. I'm fine. And hi to the viewers. So yeah, the topic of today, like I was hesitant to jump in because like I really don't have much legitimacy to discuss this issue. But again, you know what they say, nothing is legitimate, everything is legitimized. So I'm going to try to legitimize myself. How do we do as Black people to get the respect that we deserve? It depends on the compartment. I like to compartmentalize things. So for example, if you are a movement of people, of Black people, and that you are trying to do something to like stop something outrageous that is happening, for example, these Black murders that are by the police, like police killing in America, which is like so outrageous, like then like you have to, then you do all the voices, all the manifestation that you're doing, it is perfectly fine. What I thought was lacking is a definition of what will be victory, right? In the Black Lives, not all the Black Lives movement, because I don't know that Black Lives Matter movement, I don't know that from the beginning. I have to admit that I'm uneducated on that issue. But from the traumatic events, like not the George Floyd, but before, like 3 years before George Floyd, I forget the names. I'm sorry. But
Eric Garner, Jamal, is he talking about Eric Garner?
Yes, I think it was a Ghana name. Yes, Ghana, the family name. So there has been like this protest happening, like say Black Lives Matter, Black Lives Matters. Yes, I agree. What I felt was lacking in every time that I was following the topic is what was the definition of success? What would we call a success? Will we call a success some new law in the states, in the country where we are doing the movement? Will we call a success where there is some changes in the way the police are trained? We will call, what are we going to call a success when we go on this movement? Are we just like liberating some frustrations that we have accumulated, or are we trying to aim at something? And one thing that because there was a Black Lives Matter year in Montreal, I live in Montreal. What we proposed with some of the other people that were there was that a success could be that a reform of how the police work, because these things are happening because police are no more doing their work of de-escalating situations. Normally, a police officer is somebody that's supposed to, in French, we say gardien de la paix, keep the peace.
Mhm.
So it's somebody who is policing the city, is like trying to keep the peace in the city. But in recent years, police officers, and not only in the US, almost everywhere in the world. Like we've seen this happen in France, we've seen this happening even in Cameroon, my own country. It appears that these policemen are less and less able to like keep the peace, and that's because they don't know how to de-escalate a situation in violence. So apparently that's what we understood with some of my friends, that when we think about this. So we thought to ourselves when we came to the march to say, hey, new training for the police, de-escalating violence. So this was like a clear objective that for us, at least when we got in the wagon, we thought to ourselves that whenever a police department somewhere where we are defending the Black Lives Matter and the police brutality targeted towards Black people will make some moves in this direction, we will consider it victory or partial victory. Okay, and I think that's something that is
Agree
lacking.
that part of the Black Lives Matters movement is about addressing police brutality, and which is it's quite obvious. And even though people have been out protesting, we've seen that that hasn't really made a real difference because so many cases have followed um, George Floyd. So
Yes,
definitely that's what it is. It's about, saying our lives matter too. Yes, we need to address this racism amongst the police towards Black people because there doesn't seem to be anything protecting the Black people because police can just go out there. They feel they're above the law. And
I
actually,
agree.
they're not getting the punishments that they deserve. Like I said earlier, we're still waiting for the cops to be arrested, for example, for Breonna Taylor and so many others.
Mm-hmm.
So
Okay.
definitely there is an objective. I see that, but what people are saying is that as the Black community, we're marching and we're marching and we're, almost begging, but we're not seeing any change. So exactly, what do we have to do to gain the respect that we deserve?
That's what I'm trying to answer. I agree with all your points. What do we have to do is like it's complicated issue. I really don't know how to say, but I
And
want
I
to say
do
that the
understand,
main.
before I cut you, I do understand because I also want my viewers to know as well that I do understand that there's no silver bullet to this. So it's, I know there's a variety of things that need to come together to address this problem. But so many of us, the Black community, I say, we're frustrated and we want change. And some people have gone as far as saying, well, we may have to get radical and we may have to get violent. Should it come down to that? Anyway, I'll let you speak.
Yeah. Um. It like again. So the situation to me is like just to focus about this movement, the movement that we have felt recently, is that I don't feel like in the movement where I've gone, maybe in other cities it was clear. I don't feel that there was a clear target that we will say, okay, this is an objective that if we if we realize this, we will call this a success. Stopping police brutality is not an objective because it's something that is in the future. It's not something be that you can observe at the moment that you are doing your reivindication, your denunciation. So an objective could be, I want this to be in the law, this letter to be in the law. I want this amount, this share of Black people in advisory boards, for example, if it is economics, into like shareholders boards. I want this amount of people to be there. I want this amount of banks to be, because I also heard some news about like isolated areas in some of cities that are majoritarily Black, where you cannot even find a bank. You have to go like a lot of kilometers with your cars. An objective could be, I want banks to come there. I want business to come there. And this is like clear lines that you will know that, okay, these are my objectives. And then from there, you develop a course of action. And if in that course of action, any means appear, like whatever means, like I'm not an advocate for violence, but if in that course of action it appears that you have to be violent, then you have to do what you have to do, right? So, but I'm not advocating for violence. I want to solve things. I want things to be solved like in a non-violent possible way as much as possible.
Keep your point there. Keep your next point there. I just want to hear from Jamal what he has to say regarding what you said.
He made a lot of valid points. One thing people have to realize is this. I respect Black Lives Matter for highlighting the injustices going on across the world. It is a recognizable hashtag. Matter of fact, it was a great idea. Though, but one thing we have to realize is this: Black Lives Matter is not the only organization fighting racism, on this planet. And I feel like it's very unfair that anytime a subject of racial injustice come up, they want to highlight Black Lives Matter. Why is that? That is evidence right there that the movement been co-opted. As Lady Visionary was bringing up earlier in the discussion, all these people sending emails and stuff like that. If they really cared about, us as a race, then how come somebody like Colin Kaepernick still doesn't have a job in the National Football League? They talk about how he was right, how they agree with him, but he's still not signed. If they really cared about Black Lives Matter, then how come even months after George Floyd was killed, they still you can still find shootings in Atlanta, find shootings Jacob Blake in Wisconsin. Why is this still occurring? You know what I mean? Because these are the same movements who said they was down for us. And if I hear one more institution talk about police reform as a solution, they're the problem. You know what I mean? So it's just far
Because they've
too
been talking
often.
about it, but nothing's happening.
Yes, because it's just going back to co-opting and taking over because they know, why, when Uber sends out an email talking about they down for the cause, they want you to keep riding Uber. Same thing
That's it.
with yeah, that's it. Cause they know we had crazy momentum going on with this George Floyd thing first popped off, and now it's just like if we can't beat them, let's join them, and we just make them feel a little better, then we can continue to control them economically.
And that's all they have interest in is our money. You rightly
Yes.
said that and that's
Mhm.
why they claim to be allies and supporting of Black Lives Matter. And so
Mhm.
many of us are fooled by that. Many of the Black community, we're fooled by this, that this pretense, because all they're thinking about is the economy and money in their pockets. And whilst our brothers and sisters out there are being shot like treated worse than animals, okay? So I just want to know from our viewers out there, what will it take for Blacks to get the respect that we deserve? Because globally, I'm seeing that it is a problem that keeps it's continuing and continuing. Yes, many will say that there has been change. We're in a moment of change, but others will say, actually, no, we're still oppressed, and many of us are frustrated. So I'm just going to bring in Simeon and the homegirl healer, but we'll hear from Simeon first.
Hello, you okay?
Hello and welcome.
Yes, hello.
How
Yes, I
are
tell
you,
you,
Simeon?
it's a good subject to talk about. Very good subject to talk about. I've
I
just
think
come in.
it's necessary.
Yes,
Absolutely.
it is. It is necessary. Just come into the chat and so forth, so I don't know what's been discussed already. I can only tell my or tell you, I should
Well,
say,
on
my
the topic, what will it take for blacks to get the respect that we deserve? Because we're seeing what's happening globally amongst against the black community. We're targeted all across the world. We're marching and saying our lives matter. We deserve respect. We can't breathe. For centuries, your knees have been on our necks, and we just want you to get the oppressors to get off our necks. Why is it that you can't allow us to breathe? And so people are saying we're marching, we are fighting, and we've had enough. As Jamal was saying, is that these different institutions, they say, oh, we're allies with the Black Lives Matter and this and that, and we'll support you, but it's all been crap. It's all been a bunch of lies, psychological brainwash to keep the black community spending and supporting
yes,
their businesses so they don't collapse. And so someone in the chat said we need to boycott. And I agree, we need to boycott these organizations. We need to keep the money within. And so
yes.
that's what's been said.
Oh, okay. Well, to add to what you're saying, I just think it's so unfortunate that we're in a mental position where we don't want to struggle alone. This is a movement. This is a particular uh, thing that happens to ourselves. This happens to ourselves. No one else is getting shut down and treated like that at all on the street. No one's
No
been
other
hunted.
race, no other
No
race.
other race. I mean, the black people might as well be like, Sarah Connor in the movie Terminator. She's been hunted throughout the whole film, and even the unborn, the child, it's just been hunted by Terminators, trained people that are trained to kill us. I personally think when it comes to any form of movement, it has to be economically black owned. You can't be mixing up with other people. Once you mix up with other people when it comes to a black issue, it no longer becomes black. People change it up to their own narrative, and like, as we see with that Black Lives Matter, it's not what it was actually meant to be. It's an agenda. And that's another thing that we can't work out. We can't work out that people have agendas. They want to keep tabs on what we're doing. Do you know what I mean? They want to know our every move. So they want to make sure that it isn't radical. It doesn't jeopardize what they have in plan and in store for us. So you see, until black people realize that they're in this fight and they're in this fight alone, it doesn't matter how much white friends they believe they have, or how many other non-black friends they believe they have. They're in this fight alone because no one has that level of empathy for us when we get killed in the street. When we get discriminated in the workplaces, and no one has that. So, no one will respect us until we stand on our own 2 feet, and we do this by ourselves without outsiders' money and influence. That's my personal opinion
We've
on that.
got to take the power back.
Yes,
And we've
yes,
got to, I feel like we have to also, as a black community, we have to recognize the power within, because I feel like a lot of us feel helpless. And so that's why it's so important to have conversations like this, because I feel like there are solutions. Instead of saying, well, you know what, this is the world that we live in, it belongs to our oppressors, and that's it. We lay down and that's it. Like, I believe that change can come about today and for generations to come. Because, as I said earlier, I have 2 young boys growing up that are going to be men, and so I've just got to say, son, this is how the world is. We live in a world. We are the oppressed people, and they are the oppressors, and that's how it's going to be. So I feel like many people in the black community, that's how they're just like, this is how it is, yeah, whatever. Or they're in their bubble, they don't want to address the realities of the world that we are living in and we continue to live in. 400
yes.
years on. It's like, what?
Yeah, no, ridiculous. It's totally
What?
ridiculous. I just think that what black people, unfortunately, they're in denial when it comes to reality, and they're just hoping and praying that they're not the next one that's going to end up as the hashtag. I mean, what was so touching yesterday is obviously, watching African Superstar show. And shout outs to T3, him relocating his family to Rwanda. I think that was a great look. But what I took from his time, during the stream, was that he obviously he's a visionary. He must have a visionary mindset to take him, obviously him and his wife, to take them away from the situation, relocate in Africa. You saw his little child on the screen. Now, it's amazing to think that everybody's been through that baby stage in their life. Eric Gardner was like that. Mr. Blake was like that. George Floyd was like that, and the list goes on. So many names you wouldn't believe that.
Breonna Taylor, oi.
Yeah, Breonna Taylor, Sandra Blake. Do you know what I mean? Tamir Rice. There was all little kids, innocent children, like the child we saw on the screen yesterday, only for their future to be cut short.
Taken just like that. And it means nothing. It means nothing. Black lives means nothing. Like, just like that. We're supposed to just move on, yeah?
It doesn't. And the thing is, not even a reparation could, console the death and the misery that's been happening to us. Nothing, no, you can't get compensated for that. Once a life is gone, it's gone. So, I think in the West, all of this protesting and all that kind of stuff it's pointless, to be honest, because no one listening, you see. And like black people, like I said before, black people want to be, they don't want to be exclusive. They want to include everybody, because they sort of believe, if you get more people marching with us, they must care about our agenda. No, they don't. That's a news flash. We don't want to come to terms. They don't care about our agenda. Do you know what I mean? In fact,
say you guys need to, when we talk about a history of, oppression, people will be like, what are you talking about? You guys, that happened back then. Like, come on, this is not, no, they just playing the victim. Like, come on.
Well, let's. I'm gonna keep it real with you, Lady Visionary. I'm gonna tell you, keep it real. If you was an outsider not knowing history, and you saw how black people was being treated, yeah, you would think that we were the slave owners, and we enslaved white people, and we took them to plantations, and we done that to their ancestors, and we are the ones that gained money from it, and we're getting our comeuppance for it, because the way we've been treated, it's as if we done something wrong to them in the past, and we know the narrative that didn't take place at all, so we get treated like this, and all we done is show people love. Imagine that.
So time and time again, it keeps coming up. Black people, we show love on another level. It's like, regardless of what happened, it's like, love, like, just love your enemies. Like, it's crazy.
Yeah, I think it's in our nature, because us being the first. I think we just have a different level of humanity when it comes to other people, but it's to our detriment as well, because we can't
actually find a balance, for sure, because you see what's happening. We're not, some would say, like, we're not getting anywhere. Nothing is really, we're not seeing what needs to happen. Like, we're not seeing the change.
No.
So what, like, many, I see the comments in the chat, and also let me just bring in Homegirl Healer, just to see what she has to say regarding this topic. So thank you so much.
Shout out to Homegirl Healer. Yes, shout
out to you, Brother Simeon. How are you? And hey, Lady Visionary,
welcome.
And everybody
thank
else
you
on
for
the panel
coming
in the chat. I'm so excited to be here. So this is actually a fabulous topic for us to be discussing. And I have lots of thoughts about it, but I have a quick example that I want to share. And I'm definitely about to age myself. But when I was growing up in the US, but I'm sure it was a worldwide phenomenon, there was a show called Family Matters. And if you know Family Matters, there was a character, Steve Urkel, and he was in love with Laura, and everything was all about, Laura, and he's always chasing her. And she never paid him any attention, didn't respect him, all of that. It's not until he became Stefan Urkel, I guess we'll say the best version of himself. He wasn't concerned about her. He was moving on, doing his own thing, that she began to take notice of him. And the relationship that we as Black people tend to have with non-Black people is that we're constantly doing the chasing, hoping for acceptance. When we talk about protesting and when we talk about even boycotting, when we protest now, like this is a point that my husband always makes to me, and it's a great one, how protesting used to be disruptive. The intention of protesting is not to do it um is not to do it like, orderly. Protest is supposed to disrupt things. It's supposed to disrupt the
Thank you.
system to call attention to it. When you are not, when you're getting, I'm using all his talk points because it's such a great point, but when you're getting permits to do it, and then you're putting it on social media where everyone can see it, like people know what to expect. So rather than being inconvenient so that it can be in their face that you need to understand what this is and fix it, they can maneuver around it. Like I live in DC. There's always protests happening in DC. People get their permits, they mark in the streets. Like as a DC resident, I'm like, oh, okay, they having a protest here that day, so I won't go downtown, or I know how to, maneuver around the city so that I don't even have to engage with any of the protesting. So because we're trying to work in the system, it's easy for them to overlook us. And we think that it is putting us on even playing field, but they're like, it doesn't. It doesn't put us on equal playing field to do that. And then even when we think about the concept of boycotting is typically like a temporary fix. You do it until you get the desired outcome. The problem is why is the desired outcome that we get these people to respect us so that we can be happy to spend our money outside of the community? Why are we just not spending money in the community? And now in the West, like it's lots of things that you need to get done that you need like for your daily life that you have to get from other people, because at this point, like we may not be aware of the Black companies that exist or they don't exist yet. But as much as you can be supporting Black business, it shouldn't be a thought of boycott. It should just be a thought of where can I best put my money to make an impact. If you can put your money into Black business, you're making an impact. That's the way that you make them feel it. And I think that to add on to it, going back to the point of Steve Urkel, when he was done worrying about Laura and he was doing his thing, like he was in a better place. We have to do the same thing. It's fine for us to move on from investing in these other systems, investing money into communities and people who don't respect us. Here, for example, we have lots of carryouts, and they're all run by Asian people. And you come in, there is like thick glass, bulletproof glass separating you as the consumer from them. How do you come into my community afraid of me that you would need to put that up? And we don't think about these things. We just come to accept it and we put up with it. What we really need to do rather than boycott is to financially divest as much as we can from other communities and circle those things back to our own. That's the real impact. Because if you're doing it for acceptance, because you want to have a seat at the table, you always are only going to get to sit at the kiddie table at Thanksgiving with them. You can't sit at their table.
And it will be a temporary thing, as you said.
Temporary, yep.
I think what you would what the point that you're saying is that how can we make this sustainable? Because we've been oppressed for so long. So, and it's going to take generations after generation. So if we just say like, okay, we do this particular thing now, and it's going to be temporary, it's short lived. We want to gain acceptance, but as soon as we gain the acceptance, they will just turn around and kick us in the teeth again.
Because they've done it time and time again.
One step ahead. We've got to be smart. Psychologically, we've got to be, sharp.
Absolutely. And I see you have a comment posted here, and it's an excellent comment, because one of the things that they're doing, like some of what I've heard, is that there have been piles of bricks that are kind of been sitting out waiting for people to use them during the protest. Who is really doing that? Who do you think is doing that? I know here, actually along the East Coast, a lot of people, where I am in DC, in New York, we're talking about like how ridiculous the fireworks were this summer. There are always lots of fireworks in the beginning, like in the beginning of the summer up past 4th of July, because people, they are going off, but it's been quarantined. Personally, where I live, I hadn't seen any fireworks stands like I usually do, but there's constantly fireworks going off. Where is this coming from? We need to be mindful of the fact that we allow people into our spaces who don't have our best interests at heart. Some of these people just want to be on the right side of history. They want to be able to tell their white grandchildren, oh, you know, I was out here protesting. They don't really care. They don't really care. Do you know how many people that white people I've worked with who have been so like, oh yeah, Black Lives Matter, and have been for equality and justice, and have been personally racist toward me?
I can say this. I can put my hand up to that and say that I have experienced that as well.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, really, I see right through you. Get out my face.
Period.
When it comes to these protests, when it comes to these riots, I'm gonna say this real quick, because there was a lot of excellent points that are made. A lot of times when they break up the riots, they one of the tricks that they use is that they are tearing up their own neighborhoods. But last I checked, we don't own any of these McDonald's, any of these CVS's, any of these Walgreens, Kroger's, Giant Eagles, whatever you want to call it. See, it's a trick for us to stop rioting, because a lot of times, because it has now got to the point where they make it seem like if you riot at all, it's a bad thing. Rioting ain't necessarily bad, because when we riot, we of course we want it to be the last resort, because we don't want any violence to go out there unnecessary. But that's where a lot of time movements are done. But yet, as the sister pointed out, when we have these peaceful protests, that just really disturbs me, to be honest. When you go out your way and say we're going to have a peaceful protest. Now, if you just have one, that's okay. You know what I'm saying? But you just make it your duty to title it peaceful protest. That just tells me right there
Again,
it's passive.
psychologically, you're
Mhm.
trying to
Yeah,
suppress.
psychologically.
Yes, that is
Yeah.
some sucker s. I don't know if you have cursed on your platform, but that is some really sucker stuff. And we put ourselves in that position every time by trying to be peaceful and turning the other cheeks. When are you gonna run out of cheeks? I only got two. All them cheeks been run out. You know what I'm saying? We don't have any more of those available. And even and Jamal, you made a great point, because when we talk about like messing up our own neighborhoods in DC, and I'm sure this may be the case in other places, but they have something called eminent domain, which means that your house, like if you purchase a house in DC, you are purchasing the house. Even though the land is yours, quote unquote, and it's your responsibility, if the city wanted to come in and take that land for any reason, they could do it. So you own you own the physical home, but you don't even own the actual land that it's on. And that's where the value is. If a house is burnt down or demolished, that's the end of that house, but the land remains and you don't even own it. So when you say that we're destroying our own communities, but who owns the land?
The land. You see, we've got to see it for what it is, but some of us, we don't want to see it for what it
Yeah.
is, and that's the
Right.
problem.
And another thing is this, people quit to bring up, how other figures might have done it. Oh, well, Dr. King, he was for nonviolent. When Dr. King was around, we got things done. That's a bunch of lies, period. Because if you study history, even though Dr. King was for nonviolent, you will find numerous of riots going on in his time when he was
Oh yeah,
alive. Just follow what happened in Detroit, or what was going on in Chicago, or throughout a lot of these U.S. cities while Dr. King was having these peaceful protests. You know what I'm saying? So they making it seem like what we're doing now is something new. I said if Dr. King would have never did it, we was doing it back then too. But y'all highlighted Dr. King because y'all know when we actually riot, that's what that's where y'all actually get nervous, because we are damaging your property. And as far as looters go, look, y'all can look at it and be like looting is wrong because they just take other people's stuff. Have we been compensated for reparations yet? So you can make the argument the stuff that they take it is theirs to begin with, because we have yet be given a penny for what we deserve.
but also
So
look at like Europe, and I don't know. I think even in America, they still have some of the artifacts, a lot of the artifacts that they stole, and still they're holding on to it. Why? Give it back.
yes. I just
What's
read an
going on here?
article, I think it was a day ago, where they still, I think, Belgium still have Patrice Lumumba's teeth, and that Patrice Lumumba, the famous Congolese leader, that
Yeah.
his daughter begged them to return his teeth. Why y'all keeping his teeth?
It's
Y'all,
absolutely crazy and sick. Like for me, I'm just like,
Mhm.
I don't understand. But let's hear from the African Chronicles. Welcome. Oh, let's unmute you. Sorry, I
Oh,
muted you. Sorry. Go on.
thank you. Oh, sorry about this. Good evening, everybody. Thanks for having me.
Good evening. It's a pleasure.
Well, I, I think we already answered the question, but what will it take to get the respect? First of all, the respect will not be given to us ever. The respect has to be taken from them. And how? Of course, somebody said earlier we got to be strong because as divided as we are, this is the best way for us to get weak. And since we are weak, they can do whatever they want. Let me give you an example. A few months earlier, a Chinese died in a very strange circumstances in Paris. And the French government apologized to the Chinese government for this. You see why? China is strong. This one of the strongest economy in the world. After one generation, they worked hard and they developed the country, and China became a superpower.
That's
And
right.
we are still divided. And in the same time, I mean, a couple of years earlier, a young black man still in Paris had an altercation with a cop, and we found the bill club of the cop in the somewhere in some part of the young black guy, and the Minister of Justice called out what rule an accident.
Hmm.
You see, my point is, when it comes to us, they can do whatever they want, and when it comes to others, they apologize
Because we
because
have given them that power, and that's why I think many will agree. It's time to take the power back. That's the only way we're going to gain respect. And you talked about economic power. Looking at China, and I've been to Paris. I've seen the situations how black people are treated in Paris, and all those young black men who are on the streets of Paris hustling. It's really so sad.
I was born and raised in Paris, so I can tell. And you are right. As long as we do not waking up and rebuild whatever we need to rebuild, they won't stop. They will not stop. So, like you said, first of all, change the mindset. Education. When I say education, it's not only academic education. The education will change the mindset, rebuild the economy. We need to talk to each other, different countries, build bridges between the African continent, the
That's right.
diaspora, and the
That's
Afro
right.
descendants. Because without Africa, please don't stop dreaming. Without the power of Africa, we're doomed. If Africa is not strong, the diaspora will not be strong, Afro descendant won't be strong, and we won't get the respect that we deserve. It won't change. Just remember,
Amen.
again, I'm going to say it again, during the 20s in the United States, we used to own everything. We had the economical power. We had it. Remember what his name again, Mr. Dr. Claude Anderson said, powernomics. He gave us the clues, all the answers. He's here. We need to rebuild the economy. That's it. A little bit more than that, of course, but when you got the power, the money, you have almost everything. Listen, the African Union is funded by European Union, so there is no power in the African Union because European Union gives you
It
the money.
really
They have their
is a shame.
say. Excuse me.
It really is a shame. Everybody is saying that the African Union is really not fit for purpose
Nope.
because it's not for the African people. It's not for the black community. So what?
You see, okay.
I'm
Let me
confused.
make it simple.
What's going on here? Like, what is it going to take for us to gain the respect that we deserve? Because
Okay,
yeah, sorry, go on.
let me
Because
explain. Let me
it's
tell
so
you.
bad.
Let me make it simple, and I give you the answer to, in my opinion. If I give you the money to eat, you will eat what I give you to eat. That's it. Clear? If
Yep.
you depend on me to eat, well, you're gonna eat what I'm gonna give it to you, even if you don't like it. Hey, I'm giving you the food, so you're gonna eat what I give you. You don't like it, get it yourself.
Mm.
Right. So what will it take? It will take people like us, people like Malcolm X, people like all these people who say enough is enough, and these people will take the lead. You know what? Actually, we don't even need leaders. We don't. We don't need to wait for them. The revolutions starts with us right now, with
That's
action.
right.
Invest in Africa.
I just want to
Develop the
pause you
mindset.
there.
Excuse me.
I just want to pause you there. I just want to hear from Renelle.
Sure.
And please stay where you are.
Hi.
Hi,
Hi.
Renelle.
So like I want to congratulate like the recent interventions. I thought they were very interesting, different viewpoints. I did not agree to some of them, especially one. I want to say the last intervention of Jamal. Like I think really like if you decide of a course of action, any course of action, you can always justify it afterwards. So you can always make arguments about why looting is not so bad, why whatever. Like any just afterwards, an action is always is. I can always justify it, and anybody can do that. The first point that I wanted to say, so this is one was the disagreement, but all the rest I agree. Like really, it's a matter of power to power to your people, power to yourself, build your independence, and like the African Chronicle just said, if if somebody is paying you, you are going to. If you depend on somebody to survive, you are going to dance at the rhythm that they want. You are going to walk as they want,
That's
and
right.
and that's like a basic example. Like now. Another point is that yes, you cannot the diaspora, the black people everywhere will not be strong without Africa again. But also all these points, like I'm just agreeing now. But then the new perspective that I think I want to bring in is that even if you build an alternative, you need to have a way to defend it. So you need to have a way to protect the alternative that you are building. So this is something that I wanted us to add on top of it. We need to find a way to like prevent the alternative that we are building to like crumbling down. And I have in mind in the US a city called Tulsa of black people that were like after that were building an economy. They were building like a solid economy, and then there was a massacre there, according to history records that I have. So you need to be able to defend yourself. I want to think of Haiti. Is a country like of black people. Like there was like they even built the French Empire in that country to like build it up. But again, the situation of Haiti now is not like the most enviable. Meanwhile, it's the oldest African nation. African like nation in the sense of nations of United Nations, right? So, um, so I just wanted to add that I agree. Get ourselves our power and um, be ready to defend it with strategies that are fit, and not all strategies are violence prone. Defending something is also about making sure that your kids will not, younger generation will not be distracted, that they will continue their work. So this was just the point that I wanted to add on top of this discussion of like building our own power. I wanted to add that there is a step of be ready to defend it, and that we should not take any action just because we want to take it, because any action can be justified afterwards. So what we need to do in my objective is that we set a goal and we decide actions with respect to that goal. And last word, like the African Chronicle said, we don't need to wait for some grand leader. We can, in our own little communities, like friends, communities of work, community of family, communities of acquaintances, we can decide ourselves what are these collective goals that we want to give ourselves and work towards them. And little by little, like nothing. There is nothing that was constructed, nothing big that was constructed like instantly. Like you need some time. Then we'll hopefully we'll hopefully have what we are dreaming for. That is a world in which Black people are finally respected. In a world in which we will have taken back our respect, and we are able to hold it, and people cannot, like, even if they wish, they don't have the means to like demean us. This was my point.
Thank you so much, Ronald. Some valid points there. I definitely agree when you said, you know, we need to, when we put things in place, definitely there needs to be a strategy to maintain it. So thank you so much for your contribution. I really appreciate that.
Thank you so much.
Allow somebody else to also join us. Thank you so much. So would love to hear from Simeon. What do you have to say, Simeon?
You okay? Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Oh, that's good. Yeah. Well, I'll just say one thing. Well, a few things actually, and then I'll wrap up because I've got to go.
No
Personally, I think respect is something you give yourself. I don't think you should be asking people for respect. Respect is something you give yourself, because once you give that to yourself, you won't be tolerating the nonsense that we've been tolerating. So the self-respect, I think, is key. You know, you got to force people to respect you. So that respect has got to come from self first of all. I think the looting and the rioting, that's pointless as well, because these people have strategy in mind that you destroy their business, the insurance pays out. They've got insurances to pay out, so it's not like they're going to lose forever. So you can see how it's been constructed to benefit them in the end anyway.
Exactly.
And then lastly, Africa's the answer. It's as simple as that. You know what I mean? It's going to be tough to go, you know, to have an upheaval with your life, because you got to be realistic. But that's the answer. That's the answer. You know, you want to fight and defend for something. Defend there. There's nothing to defend here. It's a waste of time, because you're on enemy territory anyway. So, you know, enemy is never going to allow you to compete with them on the same level that they are. So there's nothing to fight for here. And a lot of people won't come to terms with that because of the emotions that they have, you know what I mean, with, you know, ancestors and so forth. And I hear where they're coming from. But Martin Luther King did say, I'm tired of marching. And I don't know anyone that marched like him. And for him to turn around and say he's tired of marching, we should be exhausted. We should be exhausted. But no, placards, this, that, the other, it's pointless. They're going to listen to us. They don't even see us clearly as fully human. So, you know, we got to up and leave, man. We got to do our best to get up out of this society and out of this scenery that we're in. You know, the American brothers and sisters, I don't think this should be their greatest, this, especially years like this should be their greatest motivation to realize, say, nothing's going to change, man. Nothing's going to change. It's just going to get worse.
That's how I see it. But, you know, some people were saying that actually we need to, is that me echoing? Sorry. Why am I echoing? Oh, sorry. Some people, Simeon, would say that, you know, whose mic is that? Is that you, Simeon? I've just muted your mic.
Is that, oh, you muted it?
Yeah, just briefly, because there's a lot of noise coming back from your mic.
Oh, okay. Is that better now?
Yeah, that's fine. You know, some people will say that, you know, marching out in the streets, you know, not everybody's going to go to the continent. Not everybody feels like they need to up and leave. A lot of people may feel like, actually, I want to stay and I want to face this. So the marching, we need to keep on marching. But for me, even when, you know, protests happen like in the UK, and I'm seeing it in America, and I'm just like, I really understand, but I just feel I'm not out there, but I feel exhausted for them, you know. And it's like, how much of an impact is this really making? And we're seeing, like, just look at America, nothing's really changing. They're still shooting Black people like anything. It's just like they're nothing. It's like a sport. It's like
Yeah, you know, it is a sport. It is a sport. It is, you know, this is now done for entertainment. Like it's like, you know, there's been, you know, cops that have said, you know, they've had fantasies of just killing black people because they know they're gonna get away with it. Do you know what I mean? I mean, it's totally ridiculous. I personally think like you can get exhausted by just watching them because one thing is if when you have a Pan-African mindset, a very conscious mindset, it's frustrating that you consider obvious and others can't see because you know you don't need any kind of degrees, you don't need to be a graduate, you know, your best nothing teaches you like life experience. Nothing teaches you like life experience.
What more do we want? We see it. We see it. It's there. Like these people are not hiding it. They're doing it in broad daylight.
Of course, and they'll do it in front of a camera.
And they
See,
do
this
it.
is you know how some people are like if you got a camera on them, they normally hide away. They don't want to be seen by the camera, but they would do it in front of a camera. They don't care. So this is we've seen enough evidence to realize this environment is not for us. Yes, ancestors built the country, they worked damn hard, but like we discussed yesterday, that was under force, that was under brutality, that was under all sorts of unimaginable conditions. That was a crime against humanity, actually. That's what that was. Crime against humanity. And it was built for them, you know, for what I'm talking about, for the oppressors to benefit from, not us.
That's what
So
I said earlier. A lot of the systems in place, you know, people said, oh, we got this law and that law and this law. It's not for us. It's proving that it's not for us.
No, it's not, because what happens is they set up. Yes, that's correct, because they set up a system to make sure that the way they went around the world and treated people, they couldn't reverse that on them. So they set up a system to suit them and defend them. So it's insane when you ask that same system, oh, could you be on our side, you know, and be reasonable and seek justice. Justice for what? They're not going to have justice. As I said earlier on, they haven't got empathy for us. These are the same people that they're generations of people put in a constitution that we 3/5 of a human being. So, you know, when they actually look at us, they're not even seeing you as a fully human. So this is why, you know, we can get killed in the street. It's normalized. It's normalized. Yeah. So it's like, oh yeah, you know what, you know, oh yeah, another one's dead. Oh, what are you complaining for? You know what I mean? You know, and this is it. This is how it is. Our lives don't mean anything, and unfortunately, and this is the worst part of it. This is the worst part of it. Unfortunately, to some of our own in our community, I should say, some of our own, black lives don't matter either. So this is where I was saying earlier on, the respect. No, never ask anybody to respect you. Respect is something you give yourself. Respect is what you force people. You dictate to people, this is how I want to be treated. You don't leave them to treat you a certain way. You dictate to them.
We keep asking. That's one thing I'm finding really frustrating, is that the black community, we keep asking them, why are we asking our oppressors? That doesn't make no sense, because they will never give us what we want. Never.
Well, let's face it. We have
the power to lead the way for ourselves, and it's like, we need to stop it. We need to wake up. We need to take the power back. We need to see
Yes, and to conclude on this, if you to go out now and you're in the town, you know, your local town, and you're walking around and you see somebody begging you, and they're begging you now and they're saying, oh, have you got any spare change? Instantly, they're in a position where you can take pity on them.
Yeah.
Beggars don't get respected. And that's what we've been doing. Beggars can't be choosers, and beggars don't get respected, they get pitied.
That's right.
And that's the position that the black race is in. We've been pitied. Yeah. What do we expect? You see, if we don't learn from our mistakes, and this is very sad to say, if we don't learn from the mistakes of the past and the current mistakes being made now, then could we really say we're getting what we deserve? because we need to change the mindset. Can't keep repeating the same mistakes and expect different results.
That's
You know,
right. It has
and
to
on
be.
that note,
I agree with that.
yeah, and on that note, yeah, shout out to Homegirl Healer, 2 gentlemen that was there, the gentleman that I came in for, the other, all the other callers, and yourself. You know, keep up the great work, because these conversations are very, very good. And you know what? Even if they penetrate just a handful of people, that's progress. You know
I
what I
believe
mean?
so. I believe so. Definitely, I agree. Like, I think even if this impacts one person, I think that's even enough. You know, and even for me, I'm learning, because I just had this topic in my mind, and I was just thinking, and I was like, I need to speak to my people, and see what they say, because I also need to. I need to go on this hard. I'm willing to go on this hard, because I know that the impact it can have. And so, as I said on this channel, it's not just about talking, but really putting all of that into action, because enough is enough. We need to move forward.
Yeah,
And
yeah, definitely.
as so many have said, taking the economic power back into our hands. We don't need to ask for a seat at the table. We already have it. But if only we come to the realization, and it's about mentality, there needs to be a mindset shift. But thank you so much, Simeon. We want to hear from the homegirl healer next.
No worries. You take care, right? And shout out to everybody. All
Thank
right.
you so much. You take
No
care.
worries. You're welcome. You're welcome.
Okay.
Take care. Bye bye.
Okay.
I just want to say, I think everything that has been discussed this evening has been on target, on point, on code. And I love it. I think one of the things that we have to remember, and in my opinion, is that consider why we have been disconnected from our own spirituality intentionally. Because look at the power, like the connection to spirit, the way that we can make things move as people. We don't have, like, we are worthy of respect as soon as we show up in the room. We have every right to demand it. We don't have to engage anyone who's not respecting us. One of the things that has been a big thing to me, and that I don't do, is previously in American history, Black people would have to step off of the sidewalk whenever white people were coming.
That's right.
And that is the thing. Like, I know the power that I have. I know the energy and the spirit that is within me. I know the way that I've been anointed. So when I'm walking down the street, if you are in my way, then you need to move. I'm never going to step off the sidewalk for you. And I keep walking on my path. I will look you square in the eye, and I'm going to keep walking. And either you're going to move, or we just going to bump. And pretty much they always move. And so again, respect is a thing that, like, you just have to demand it. We have to demand it. And one of the most important things beyond getting respect from them is the respect that we have for each other. Because we are all very divine energy. We were disconnected from our spirituality because they wanted us to forget how divine we are. And we are remembering now. And so as we walk, and as we navigate our lives, like, let's walk with that energy. Let's keep that energy very strong.
Wow.
And that's all I had to say. This has been a fabulous conversation.
Wow. That
You are doing your thing, Lady Visionary. I appreciate you so much.
No, I appreciate you for coming on and sharing, to our audience. It's very much needed, and I really appreciate your contribution. It means so much to us here on the channel.
Thank you.
So
Peace,
much.
Everybody.
You take care, and see you again.
All righty, will do.
Take care. Wow. Like, you've all been amazing. Thank you guys so much for all your contributions. As I said, I feel like these topics that are coming out, I'm thinking what are some of the questions I have, and I believe that the Black community have, and how can we make a contribution by having a discussion so that we can learn and we can progress forward, and I feel like already we've come up with some valuable points in terms of how we can gain the respect that we deserve. We don't need to ask for it. We just need to take it. We need to just take the control. We need to take control, sorry. The power lies within. And if only we just, recognize that. and time again, what keeps coming up is the mindset shift of the Black community. So let's hear from the African Chronicles. Hello, are you there? Okay, I think, right, let's hear from Jamal.
Yeah, I think the African Chronicle said he had to take a phone call,
Yes,
but
okay, yes, I thought he was back.
yeah, but you know, just to piggyback on, you know, what a lot of people I've already talked about, you know, this is a complex situation. You know, one thing that's, you know, a lot of people don't want to hear, and I'm pretty sure a lot of people in the chat don't want to hear. Another thing we have to discuss eventually is, are we accountable to ourselves? You know, because a lot of times, you know, we talk about white supremacy and racism so much that we feel like we are not accountable in any of our own actions when it comes to how we are viewed, you know, on the mainstream. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, I just think, you know, in order for us to liberate ourselves, we have to look in the mirror at some of the things that we have control of. You know what I mean? So, 'cause it's just like if I walk down the street and I got a bottle of juice in my hand and I throw that bottle of juice into somebody's yard, you know, that's not necessarily white supremacy who littering or dirtying up my own community. That's me doing that. You know, so I think one day we have to take a look at some of the things that we can fix. You know what I'm saying? In order to overcome this system. You know, white supremacy for sure, you know, is probably the root cause to all of this, because if it wasn't for slavery, colonialism, and things like that, then we probably would have had to resort to that type of behavior. But there has to come a point where we fight for our liberation. We have to take responsibility for some of our actions and what we're doing and what we are not doing.
That's right. No. Oh, that was definitely a valuable point. Taking accountability for our actions, and as you say, like the things that we're not doing. And I feel like the Black community, there's so much more that we can do, and like it's just that level of consciousness as well. Like we may say, like for example, we may say like, okay, we're going to boycott, we're going to spend, you know, in the Black community, we're going to support Black businesses. We have this conversation today and we go back to doing the same thing tomorrow. So it's about
Yes,
exercising also that level of consciousness. Even me, like I'm thinking, okay, how can I make sure that when I go out there to spend, I'm spending, I'm spending within the Black community, you know? So really exercising that level of consciousness and, you know, shifting your mind and really sort of
mhm.
taking control of the things that you do, why you do what you do. I think that's very important. But thank you so much, Jamal. I've really appreciated your input. Is there any final points you want to say before you leave?
You know, I just want to say first and foremost, I appreciate your platform and your efforts. You know, you are definitely growing, and I appreciate the other panelists that came on as well. We have to realize that this is a marathon and not a sprint. So a lot of times, you know, we just think that we could uh, solve racism overnight, or we could solve racism based on who we elect or based on compensation. You know, you got to realize, you know, colonialism and slavery lasted around hundreds of years. So we can't expect to reverse. So
Hello, Jamal.
And
You've
this,
got an issue with your connection, I think. Hello.
okay, hello, can you hear me?
Okay, I can hear you now.
Okay, I'm sorry, but
It's
we
okay.
have to realize that every movement that's going on right now, it's a continuation of a previous movement. So don't think, what we're doing now is it going to benefit the future, because what we're doing now is a continuation of what Malcolm X did. It's a continuation of what Kwame Nkrumah did. It's a continuation of what Sekou Touré did. It's a continuation what Jomo Kenyatta did. It's a continuation what Nelson Mandela did. It's
That's
a
right.
continuation of what Amilcar Cabral did. So we just have to keep on capitalizing off the momentum, and somebody going to be continuation of what we do.
That's right. Thank you so much, Jamal. As I said, I really appreciate your contribution here, just coming in and giving us some really valuable points. I think there's lots that the viewers really gain from this, and I know there'll be people who joined the live late, but they need to just go back and just listen to
Yeah.
everything and even take notes, because I really believe that it's been a really valuable conversation or discussion, and a lot of us can learn something from this, especially if um, we're passionate and we are really interested in moving the Black community forward, um, and we really want to see change. We're tired of doing the same thing, or as Simeon says, you're doing the same thing, and we're not getting anything. We're just getting the same results. So something different needs to happen, I believe, for us to get the respect that we deserve. No longer do we need to keep asking the oppressors for a seat at the table. We need to take control, because we have the power. We have what it takes to move the Black community forward and gain the respect that we deserve. Like we need to stop the begging. It just doesn't look right. I think personally, we need to stop the begging. So thank you so much, Jamal, and I hope to see you again. You take care.
All right, you too now.
You take care.
All right.
I don't know if African Chronicles is still with us. I think he may still be on a call, but we're rounding up now. Just want to say thank you, everybody who has been listening to this conversation today. I hope you have found it valuable. As I said, if you missed the points that were discussed today, then you will need to start again from the beginning, because some really valuable points were discussed today, and there's a lot that we can take away. Again, if anybody, I always do this at the very end. If anybody wants to say any final words, sometimes we have people watching that may think, oh, there was something that wasn't said, or I think I could make this contribution because it's going to be impactful. I really just want to encourage you to, be brave. This is all about supporting our community, and making our contributions, and really fighting for change to happen, because I believe it will come. And as Jamal says, that so many before us have done the work, and it's a continuation, and we will continue the great fight. So thank you everyone again for listening. Please do go ahead and like the stream. Make sure you share it if you have found it valuable and you think that other people need to know about it and what's been discussed today. Please support us by making a donation. The PayPal details are going across the screen, or they're in the description bar. I really appreciate every single one of you. And if you're new to the channel, don't forget to press that or click that subscribe button. Thank you all and have a good night. I appreciate every single one of you.